Okay, here are the instructions on how to make the Influential Indigenous Leaders zine. So for tools, you're going to need a glue stick, a pair of scissors, and this part is optional if you'd rather use a pair of, an X-Acto knife, a ruler, and a cutting mat, you can. But if you don't have access to that, the scissors and glue stick will be just fine. So basically what we're going to do is start folding. We're going to flip this entire piece of paper over so that we can't see any words or pictures. And we're going to fold it in half, hot dog style, or the long way. I'm going to take my corners and I'm going to bring them up to match the other corners. And here's a little tip. To keep this all on track, what I'm going to do is take my finger and I'm going to bring it all the way down to the center and then fold from the center to the outer edges. And that should keep everything nice on track. Then I'm going to rotate it so that it's going long. And I'm going to peel back just this first layer. So as if I'm opening a book, I'm going to peel back just the top layer. And I'm going to fold it back and line it up with the fold that we just made. So if this were the spine and this is the edge, I'm going to bring it to the spine and line it up with that fold. Again, I'm holding all the corners in place and then creasing from the center to the outer edges. And make sure that you're really creasing all of your folds nicely. Okay, then you're going to flip it over like a pancake. And you're going to repeat that only on the opposite direction. So we're going to take this edge and peel it back so that it lines up with that center fold. So take the edge, line it up with the center, that center fold. I'm going to take all of my corners, line them up, and then crease from the center to the outer edges. You might want to go over those folds again, just so we get them nice and sharp. Okay, so now we have this long piece of paper, and if we open it up, it kind of looks like a W. So our paper is kind of folded so that it looks like a W. So you're going to take your paper as a W and you're going to flip it over so that it now becomes an M, like a letter M. Now we're going to repeat that same folding, only a hamburger style. So I'm going to take the edges and I'm going to fold it all the way to meet the opposite corner. And sometimes this can be a little tricky because of all the folds we just made. But this is kind of another trick. I take this center fold and line it up with the fold right behind it. So that kind of helps me figure out where to line everything up. So all of my edges are nice and lined up. Now I'm going to hold my hand in place and crease from the center to the outer edges. Okay. Now I'm going to rotate it so that it looks like a book. I'm going to repeat that same folding backwards. So I'm going to take this edge and I'm going to fold it back to meet that center fold we just made. Line up corners and edges and then crease from the center to the outer edges. Flip it over and take this edge and line it up with that center fold. Edge to the center fold. Again, I'm going to go over it with my fingernails just to get it really nice and crisp. Okay, so then now when I open this up again, I have another W. So when I open it all up, there should be 16 rectangles total, or panels. So we just divided our paper into 16. Next, we're going to cut it. Basically, we're just going to follow along these dark lines as our cutting guides. So I'm going to start over here and end here. And then on this side, I'm going to start over here and end here. And then I'm going to go back to the left side, cut all the way until I reach here. So for an X-Acto knife and cutting mat and ruler, basically put the cutting mat underneath your paper, take your ruler, and then just line it up with that dark line. Take your X-Acto knife and cut all the way down. But if you don't have that, scissors work just as well. So I'm going to take this, put it aside, and I'm going to do that same process, but only just cutting it with scissors. So I'm starting at this edge and cutting all the way until the line stops here. So I will go ahead and start cutting. An X-Acto knife will make the edges a little bit cleaner, but scissors are just as great. So I stopped right there where that dark line ended. I don't want to continue to the end because then that would separate this entire row from the rest of the book. Okay, so now I'm going to cut from this end. So if I rotate it, I'm going to cut from this edge all the way to this intersection here. So again, I don't want to go past and go to the edge. I want to go all the way to the line where it ends. So I'll rotate this and cut along the dark line. Okay, I'm stopping right there. And then we have one more line to cut, and it's this line all the way to the intersection here. So I'm cutting across 3 panels and stopping here. All right, so now I'm done with my scissors, and we have this, our piece of paper is kind of in this oversized M or W. Okay, and now we're going to fold this all up. So we're going to start with this panel here at the bottom left that says, "This zine was designed to commemorate leaders in Indigenous history." We're going to take this first panel and we're going to fold it forwards just the way it wants to naturally fold. So I'm taking the first panel and just folding it forward so that it covers up the title page. Then I'm going to continue to follow the natural folds. So I'm going to actually tuck this behind the way it naturally wants to fold. And then I'm going to fold it forwards again in the way that it naturally wants to fold. So I'll repeat that. You're going to take this panel, fold it forward, fold it behind, fold it forward. And then this right here is where it gets a little bit tricky because we want to follow the natural fold again, which means you'd fold it forwards. But actually this part right here, this fold, we need to fold behind. So we're going to reverse that fold. So we fold forward and then behind. And I kind of like to reinforce that fold just so that it stays. Then I'm going to continue on until I get to the end of this row, and I'm going to follow the natural folds until I get here. So I'm going to fold it forward and back, forward. So once I get to the end here, we're going to follow this natural fold. So I know at the very end of this row, we had to reverse the fold, but on this side, we actually want to follow the natural fold. So we're going to take this and flip it underneath. If you notice a pattern, we're basically going forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. So we just went from forward to back. Now we're going to go forward, back, forward. And then again, we're going to reverse this fold back, forward, back, and forward. Okay, so now our zine is folded up, but we can't see anything. So basically we're going to peel back this first layer and we're going to rotate it so that it's right side up. And we have our title page, and this is actually the back page. So we're going to take the back page and we're basically just going to wrap it around so that it becomes the back cover. So we have our front cover and our back cover. And I actually like to use my pincher fingers to just kind of create a little spine. So I just kind of pinch along both of those edges and just create a little spine. All right, and so now all we have to do is glue the back cover down. So I'm going to set it down and I'm going to flip it around, and I'm just going to peel back this page, and I'm going to put glue all on the inside of my back cover. I don't need to put any glue into the spine, just to the right of it. So I'm going to take my glue stick and do a squiggle down the middle and get all along the edges. You might want a piece of scrap paper to just set underneath so that you don't get your desk or table gluey. Then all I'm going to do is hold this in place and just set this down on top and use my hand to make it nice and sticky so that it stays down. Flip it back over, and now we have our influential Indigenous leaders zine. And this first page will tell you instructions on how to make the zine, and then the remaining panels are all about leaders in Indigenous history. And I want to send a special thank you to the American Indian Reaource Center at the University of Utah for collaborating with us at the Book Arts program at the Willard Marriott Library, University of Utah, on this project. I also want to mention this book that is written by Adrienne King called Notable Native People. All of the quotes from the zine that we made were sourced from this book, and it's a really great resource to read about Indigenous leaders, and a lot of whom are not in the zine, but it's just great to read up about more people in Indigenous history.